Dear friends, welcome to another episode of Channel. Without these tanker aircraft, American fighter jets simply cannot reach Iran. And that is exactly what we are going to talk about today. In this video, we will analyze the crash of a U.S. strategic aerial refueling aircraft in the context of the growing military tension between the United States and Iran, and understand why this mission is considered one of the most critical, dangerous, and decisive operations in modern military aviation. On March 12th, the United States lost a KC-135 Stratotanker, one of the most important aircraft in the U.S. military logistics system, in the airspace of western Iraq, with 6 crew members killed in the accident. The incident involved 2 KC-135 aircraft, with the second one managing to perform a dramatic emergency landing at Ben-Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv, with about 40% of its vertical stabilizer completely destroyed. The U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, reported that there was no enemy fire and no friendly fire, which strongly suggests a mid-air collision between 2 aerial refueling giants during an operational mission. This type of accident reveals something much larger and rarely discussed outside military circles. Aerial refueling is one of the most complex, technically demanding, and dangerous missions in military aviation, even when no enemy is firing at you. And in a modern war, especially in a potential confrontation with Iran, these aircraft become the literal backbone of the entire American air operation. The origin of aerial refueling. The idea of transferring fuel from one aircraft to another during flight came from a simple problem. Early airplanes simply could not fly far enough. In June 1923, at Rockwell Field in San Diego, the United States Army conducted the first successful aerial refueling in aviation history. 2 DH-4B biplanes flew in formation, one above the other, while a crew member in the tanker aircraft held a 15-meter hose in the middle of the wind. The receiving aircraft's crew had to literally grab the hose with their hands and manually connect it to the fuel tank. All of this happened in open cockpits, without any protection, flying at nearly 190 km/h. Despite this impressive and extremely risky demonstration, aerial refueling did not see immediate practical use and remained largely forgotten for more than a decade. The evolution of the technology. Across the Atlantic, British aviation pioneer Sir Alan Cobham developed a more advanced system in the 1930s known as the looped hose system. This method used a cable towed by the receiving aircraft, which was captured by the tanker aircraft using a hook, allowing the fuel to flow by gravity in mid-air. Even then, the idea still seemed too complex for large-scale military use. It was only with the beginning of the Cold War and the fear of a nuclear confrontation with the Soviet Union that aerial refueling became seen as a critical strategic capability. The logic was simple. If American bombers needed to reach any point on the planet, they would need additional fuel in the air. The KC-135 Revolution. In July 1948, the newly created United States Air Force activated its first aerial refueling squadrons, equipped with the KB-29, a modified version of the famous B-29 bomber. But the true revolution would come just a few years later. The legendary General Curtis LeMay, commander of the Strategic Air Command, demanded from Boeing a much more efficient, faster, and reliable system. The company responded with 2 innovations that would completely change military aviation. The first was the flying boom system, a rigid and telescopic refueling tube, allowing the operator to guide the boom with millimeter-level precision into the receiving aircraft. This dramatically increased the fuel transfer speed, allowing fighters and bombers to refuel in just a few minutes. The second innovation was the KC-135 Stratotanker, which entered service in 1957 and became one of the most important aircraft in the history of the U.S. Air Force. Why this mission is so dangerous? Aerial refueling is often classified as one of the most dangerous missions in military aviation outside direct combat. During the procedure, two massive aircraft fly in extremely close formation, often less than 30 meters apart, for several minutes. Any turbulence, pilot error, or sudden wind shift can lead to absolutely catastrophic consequences. The aerodynamics around the tanker aircraft are extremely turbulent, causing the receiving aircraft to shake violently in what pilots call dirty air. On top of that, many of these missions occur at night, in bad weather, or in total darkness, with pilots relying on night vision goggles and only a few guiding lights from the tanker aircraft. This drastically reduces depth perception and significantly increases the risk of human error. The strategic factor in the current conflict, and this is where a crucial detail emerges in the context of the current tension between the United States and Iran. Without these aerial refueling aircraft, a large portion of the U.S. Air Force simply could not operate over Iranian territory. Stealth fighters like the F-35 have limited range when carrying full weapons and active sensors. Strategic bombers like the B-2 Spirit, capable of striking targets thousands of kilometers away, depend entirely on multiple aerial refuelings during their mission. In other words, without tanker aircraft, the United States' ability to project air power in the Middle East drops dramatically. And that is precisely why these aircraft are considered some of the most valuable and most vulnerable assets in modern warfare. Without tanker aircraft, American air power simply cannot function the way it was designed. There are no long-range strikes, there are no sustained air operations, and there is no global military power projection, which has defined the U.S. strategy since the Cold War. CTA, final. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to leave a like on the video. And if you want to follow more in-depth explanations about modern warfare, military aviation, and global geopolitics, make sure to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode.